Right, hello, good morning. We've got two videos to make this morning. One is a video that I've promised to do for a long time, and it's how to set up the Polycraft 300 Tuffy for a bit of fishing. So we're going to go through all the kit I'm going to put on the boat, we're going to put it on the boat, and then we're going to launch. It's Conga Cup day today as well, so we're going to go and try and anchor some wrecks. The weather's okay, it's not too bad. I think out there it's going to be a bit swelly, but hopefully we'll get anchored on the wreck that we want to go to. I think there's a few boats heading out now actually already. I'm a little bit later to the party. It's only just about breaking dawn. So yeah, let's show you the equipment that I'm going to take on board today and set up the Polycraft 300 Tuffy. I'm going to take you through the whole process because it's a video I've been meaning to do for a while, and I think it will help all the guys out on the sibs and the very small boats. Okay, so the first thing we do is I set everything out in a big area to make sure that we've got everything. So we're just going to go for a thing now. So we're anchoring today, so we need to have our builder's bucket, which is what we've got here. We've got our anchor rope in there, we've got a buoy, and we've got an Alderney ring there as well. So that's ready to go. I've got my dry bag here, which I put my phone, my car keys, I put a dry towel and all my spare batteries in there. So that comes out with me. Tuna Gear, wicked dry bag. I love the logo. So if you want one of them, head over to Tuna Gear's website. We need bait for today's Conga trip. This is in another builder's bag. I'm going to put this in the front of my boat in a minute, but we've got bait. Something again really important, never used to do this, it's bring out food. I never ever used to bring out food on trips, and then I'll end up, well, I've got a headache at the end of the day. So down here we've got 4 boiled eggs, a couple of chicken and bacon. Obviously what food you bring, a bit of butter as well. What you bring is totally up to you. I've got about 3 litres of water because I might be staying out to the evening, so always bring out more water than you need. Moving on to the next thing then, we've got our fuel tank, which is here. So that's all full. We've got 4 rods laid out. We've got my box with all my tackle, and of course my trusty sidewinder lures. In this box, it doesn't come out of us, this is just what we've got inside. We've got our weigh sling for today for the Conga Cup. I'm going to place the rods down there carefully. We've got a dry suit. In a small boat and a sib or a kayak in the winter, dry suit, absolutely 100% essential. They're expensive, make sure you get one. That could cost as much as your kayak does, or basic sib hull, but trust me, if you go in the winter, you want to be wearing a dry suit. So we've got one of those. I wear that in the summer, I wear it all year round. I just adapt my clothing, which I'm wearing underneath, because they've got no real thermal properties, dry suits. They just are built to keep you dry. So let's go further into this box. I've got a spare 10 litre fuel tank. Usually I take out another 5 litres. I've normally got 15 litres of spare fuel. I'm not going to need that today because we're anchoring up and we're not going a long way off. So I'm just taking the 10 litre, and I've got a full 12 litre tank there. I've got my Railblazer anchor light there, because what I might be doing is staying out later this evening. And obviously when I'm at anchor, I'm going to have to display all-round white light. So we've got the Railblazer white light there. I don't always take that out, but on this trip we need it. I like having everything in a box because when you're packing it, it's all nice and neatly in there, and as you can pick it out, you can make sure you've got everything. Obviously we've got our scales for today. You don't need those, but that's just something I've put in there. I've got my dry boots, obviously my life jacket, if you can afford it, guys. Get yourself a PLB attached to there as well. It's just another added layer safety, that if you do fall in, you end up well away from your boat and you're drifting away, you've got a PLB there, which is going to really help you get back to safety and get a rescue underway. So obviously the engine's in the car, that's going to go on the boat over there in a moment. We've got a box here, which is my battery box. So inside we have a 100 amp LiPo 4 battery. I will talk you through this in a separate video of how I made this battery box, but in there we can charge our phones, our batteries. I've got a fixed radio unit there with digital selective cooling, a bigger aerial so we get more distance. I'm not actually sure if that's fully working at the moment, so I need to check that out. And on there we mount And on there we mount our fish finder unit, and we've got our Garmin, and that plotter is down there. Obviously we've got our VHF handheld radio as well, and as I said, we've got our fishing tackle there, and our rod's lying down there. So I'm going to bring you over to the boat now, and I'm just going to talk you through where everything goes. Everyone likes to set their boats up differently. I totally appreciate that. This is just how I do it and how I've found best to do it over the years, and I've been doing it for a number of years now. So we've got Railblazer rod holders for the rods. We put them on a rail mount, so we haven't got to do any drilling into the boat, which is perfect. Down here I've got a crate with this pole here. Now this pole here, that my camera sits on there, and in this little bit of PVC pipe here we've got our fantastic sidewinder knives which go in there. We've got our scissors which goes onto there, just like so. So they're all handy, they're all lanyarded up so we can't lose them. And my battery box, which I spoke about, which has the battery in, the chart plotter on top, that sits in here. And then what I do is, so that that box doesn't move up and down while we're going along, just attached it to a bit of, well, whatever you want to call that, a bit of ratchet rope there. We pop it in there, I've made a knot, attached that to it so it can't slide out. In here is just my cleaning equipment. We've got a few brushes, we've got a manual bilge pump as well. That's the emergency backup one. In that electrical box, I didn't mention it, we've got an electric bilge pump as well, which sits at the back of the boat so we can get all the water out when we get a bit of water in over the top, which we will, we're a small boat. We've got some spare cable ties for the anchor. Yeah, as I say, just a brush and another little wipe there. So yeah, pop anything which you think you might need in there. As I say, I'll put a couple of bits in there later on. And then back here on the boat, you've got two empty bins. I'll probably put my water in one of them, my lunch in another. So let's get the bits and bobs and I'll show you how we set up the boat. Right, so the first thing which we're going to put in is my battery box, and that sits very snug in this crate here. There we go. So it fits in nice and snug, as you can see. Okay, so the battery box. What we've got here is our antenna, which we're going to pop up. Pop that on there. Now I can have this on here or on here. Today I'm going to take this out actually, and I'm going to pop it, instead of on the box, which I'd sort of just do for transport, I'm going to pop it on a Railblazer mount here. So the antenna goes on at the back here, lock it into place. There we go. So that's all locked into place there. Our chart plotter's already sort of set up, all my electrics are already on. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and connect the Garmin. So that just sits on there. So the first time using the Garmin on here. So yeah, we'll see how we get on. As I said, there's a bilge pump in here, so we've got to open this up. Probably should have done this before we got it all out, but it's okay. Got my transducer in there as well. So this is how I've made the box. So everything sits in here nicely. And then this is the bilge pump, which we'll be very careful getting out, because otherwise we'll take out all the electrics as we go. So we just take out the amount of wire that we require. This was very, very neat when it all went in, but I'm still just trying to figure out how to do the wiring as neat as we possibly can. So we've got everything out, we've got our bilge pump out, we've got our transducer out. We're just going to close that back down, like so. Lock that into place. So yeah, we've got our transducer there. We've got our power cable which runs through the back of this box. And then I'll come and grab the camera and show you where the bilge pump goes. Right, so bilge pump is here. That on the Polycraft 300 Tuffy sits right there. And obviously the wire I'll track along there and towards the back of that box. And that just picks up all the water which gets collected throughout the day. And I've got a switch on my box just there to turn it on and off as I require. So I'm going to peel that off, that's probably turned on. Yeah, let's turn that off for now. Don't need that on for now. There we go. So that's the battery box. We're going to put the fuel tank down here. I'm going to put my fishing tackle box there for today and load everything else onto the boat, and you can obviously do that how you wish. So what we're going to do now is we're going to bring the engine down to the stern of the boat and attach it onto the back of the boat. What I have to do is I have to raise the engine here just to make sure the mounts settle on properly, and then we'll screw them on, tighten them up, and yeah, that's basically that for that part. It's also worth checking just to make sure the engine is absolutely straight on that transom, so I've just moved it a few mil there, and now I'm going to tighten it up. So once that engine is all secure onto that transom, I'll bring the fuel tank over and I'll pop that where it needs to go, and I'll also attach the fuel line to the engine as well. And this is normally when I'll open the vent to start venting the fuel once that fuel line is attached to the engine. So I've just come over to the other side here. I've got to put that tiller down just to make sure I can get that fuel line on. I'm just pulling off the cap there, attaching the fuel line, which I'm going to make sure clips in properly, and then I'll pop the tiller back up again. I'll make sure that keel cord's all in and out of place as well. What I do now is I've just moved the engine up and locked it into place as I'll drag the boat down the beach, and I don't want the engine dragging along the shingle. So I've just made sure it's locked there so it can't be dragging on the floor. The next thing I do is put my tackle box on. Obviously everyone can have different styles and how they do it, but what I'll do is I'll put the tackle box where the fuel tank is, because that's actually fits perfectly in that area, and it will just keep it out of way when I'm going along as well. I like to keep all my tackle nice and neatly in a box so that it's not flying everywhere. Sidewinder lures, I'm just deciding where to put those now, and I'll decide to put them in the storage bin so that they're nice and dry and out of the way. As you can see, I was having a little look there, didn't fit, so I'll pop them in there so they're out of the way and they're not going to go everywhere. Next thing to go on, I'll put the rods in. I make sure that they sort of go right down into the rod holders so I can actually lock them. Some of them you won't be able to put the lock on the Railblazer rod holders just because your reel's big and it doesn't quite fall in. Like this one won't go all the way in. So what I've had to do on that one is use a lanyard just to give it some extra security as we're going along, so we don't lose it. I've bought my life jacket there as well. I'm just going to make sure I pop that on a high area where there's no chance of it going off if a wave comes over the boat when we launch, because that's an auto inflation, so we don't want that sitting in any water. Just attaching the Railblazer pole there with the light on top. As I said earlier, I don't usually take this out, but this evening I may have stayed out, so I took it just in case. So the next thing to go on is the anchor. You can see the buoy flying off there. Now I'll put the builder's bucket at the front of the boat because it's quite heavy, probably weighs about 15 kilos, and I want a little bit of weight on my bow. So I've popped the builder's bucket with my anchor and my chain at the front of the boat for weight distribution, and I'll also lock that into place on the front cleat so it can't fall off of the bow area when I'm going along. So that really does help get that bow up on the plane, and it just helps with weight distribution. So I've just moved that builder's bucket again because I'm going to use this storage area at the front for my bait so that it's out the way and it can't contaminate the rest of my stuff. It was rather smelly. We had cuttlefish, we had scads, we had loads and loads of bait, so we wouldn't run out. Massive storage hatch there, really handy. And it just gets it again, gets a little bit more weight to the front, and it keeps everything out of the way, so we've got a nice clear deck. You can see here I'm just going to whip this up onto the front cleat just so the anchor line can't be thrown towards me as I'm going along. That just locks that bucket into place, and it keeps that weight at the front of the boat. So we're very nearly ready to launch now. I'm just putting in my lunch. As I said earlier, consisting of chicken eggs
Bacon, I'm making sure I've got lots of water for the day. That's really important. I've forgotten to take that a few times, and it really does ruin your day when you've not got food and water. So make sure that goes in, and then we're very nearly ready to get going. I'm running here because I'm really eager to get out fishing. So the last thing to go on the boat is my dry bag. That's got my phone, my keys, any spare batteries, charging leads, that sort of thing. And then we're very ready to launch the boat. Now I've got a green line at the front of the boat with a few knots in it to help me launch this boat. Now this is a very steep shingle beach, and I'm going to launch this boat on my own without too much hassle. I put on some big gloves, as you can see there. That helps me just grab hold of the rope, get a big firm grip on it, and then I'm able to pull this boat down the beach. Now once you get this boat going, it's really easy to pull, but but initially it's a bit tricky, and you've got to put in a little bit of power to get it going. Now I've kept this all in real time so you can actually see me do it. I've not sped it up, I've not cut it, edited it. I'm just stopped here because I want to look at the swells and see where I might want to place the boat where there's less swell. So I've just stopped there just to have a little look, and obviously it's on a little teetering edge now, so once I get it past that edge, down it comes really, really easily. And you'll see it, once it starts going, that's that. Just keep moving with it, and it's straight down to the shoreline. It's low tide here as well, so I had a lot of beach to go across, but as you can see, solo, not that difficult, and I'm on a cut, so I'm weighing quite light here as well, and there's people which are going to be a bit heavier than me and find it a lot easier. So the best thing to do is, once you're in the water with this boat, walk it past the initial swells. So you can see I'm turning the boat around now, so the engine leg is going to be in a good depth of water, so it's not hitting the beach. I'm going to walk this boat out a little bit. We don't want to get caught up with them big swells. You can see they're actually quite big there, and there's a few big waves and crashing waves. So I'm walking this boat out now. I'm going to go up to about waist height. I'm just going to give that fuel line a pump, the fuel bulb, just to get the fuel into the engine. It's all about taking your time here and just making sure that everything's ready to go. Obviously I've already done my pre-departure checks and made sure I've got all my safety equipment on. Worth noting, I'm not wearing a life jacket at this point. That is because if I wore my life jacket now, it would have inflated in the water. So this was electric start, so it's going to take about 4 or 5 pulls initially to get it going. That's building up the pressure. There it goes, and then what we're going to do is give it just a few seconds, and then I'll pop it in reverse just to start getting us away from the beach. I think it's cut out here, so it just needed another start. There we go. Just going to give it a little bit of time to warm up. Rev it a little bit. There we go. Right, I'm going to stick it in reverse now, and then as you can see, we're going to take that boat out of the bay. So once we've taken the boat, a few hundred yards, I'm then going to put on my life jacket. This is an auto-inflation life jacket, so I don't want it to be anywhere near the water when I'm launching. So once the launching procedure is done, the engine's warm and we've got out a little bit, it's time to put it on. So I'm just going to pop it round me, we're going to clip it up, and then after that I'm going to make sure that I grab the back strap, the crotch strap, and that goes underneath your leg, and it will attach to the clip at the front of the life jacket. That ensures that when it does inflate, it doesn't raise up and kill you. And there we go, we're ready to go, and that's how we set up my Polycraft.